Mr. President,
The senator from Utah.
ask unanimous consent to suspend the quorum call.
Without objection.
Mr. President, I call for the regular order with respect to the Blunt Amendment number 3900.
The amendment is now pending.
Mr. President, I rise today not to debate the broad question of the federal government's proper role in protecting and advancing public health. Instead, I'm here to stress to my colleagues that with a growing national debt that will soon exceed $20 trillion, we cannot continue to spend money we don't have. If this emergency supplemental measure is adopted, it will be the 15th emergency supplemental we've passed since 2016, totaling about $190 billion in deficit spending. This is not how responsible governments budget. It's not how responsible governments behave. Indeed, we have the ability to provide the resources the country needs to fight the Zika virus without adding to our national debt. For starters, we could undo the $500 million President Obama took from the International Infectious Diseases account and place them in his unapproved Green Climate Fund. USAID is sitting on $1.2 billion in unobligated Ebola funds. The Office of the Assistant Secretary for Preparedness and Response currently has $347 million not being put to use. And there is $525 million in CDC's Global Health Security Agenda that is unspoken for. To the extent that the Zika virus is truly an emergency, one that deserves the federal government's attention, we already have more than enough unused emergency funds to pay for the fight against this emerging threat. Yesterday, my colleague, the distinguished junior senator from Oklahoma, Senator Langford, illustrated that this administration has tens of billions of dollars in unobligated discretionary funds to pay for this as well. What we should not do, however, is allow the Zika virus to be yet another excuse to run up the national debt, just so appropriators can come back and use unspent emergency money on non-emergency parochial priorities at some later date. The entire emergency spending label is perhaps to some a little bit misleading. It does not mean that the money gets spent any faster. All it does is give Congress the ability to spend the money without having to pay for it, to spend the money without having to offset it somewhere else. That is not how we should operate. I urge my colleagues to uphold this budget point of order. And so, Mr. President, with that, pursuant to Section 314E of the Congressional Budget Act of 1974, I raise a point of order against all of the emergency designations contained in Amendment number 3900, a list of which I'm sending to the desk.